Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here, we don't sugarcoat, and not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow, and sometimes that includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. All right, let's take a deep breath and begin. If you are new here, please know at this time I create weekly content in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on what needs to be revealed. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood, and Part 3 focuses on what needs to be done. Essentially, what changes do we need to make in order to embody what we've been discussing this week? So based on when you find this video, you'll either see all available links to the content in the description box below, or you'll see dates of when to expect it. I'm pretty consistent about going back and updating things as content becomes available. So if it's not there yet, give it a little bit of time. It'll be there eventually. So we are going to be going through part 1 today, and the topic is desire. So I'm calling this message, What Desire Has Been Trying to Tell You. Desire is not a flaw, a problem, or something to eliminate. It is one of the primary forces through which life reveals itself. It is the movement of life toward more life. The deepest misunderstanding is thinking desire is about lack. In its original and healthiest form, desire is not saying, I am incomplete. It's saying, I am alive and I want to participate in life more fully. The real issue is never whether desire exists. The real issue is whether desire is conscious or unconscious, whether it is rooted in wholeness or emptiness, and whether it leads toward relationship or control. Desire does not need to be removed. It needs to be understood. And they want me to just clarify with this message that with what needs to be revealed, there are certain foundations that I need to lay so that we can get to the part where desire can be understood. They're saying honor the various parts. There is this buildup that needs to happen. If I just dove right into what really needs to be understood and go to those deeper levels of desire and skipping this step, that there are things that are going to get lost along the way that are not meant to be lost. Okay. Desire begins as creative participation in life. At its healthiest, desire is expansive, creative, and naturally aligned with life. It appears as curiosity, wonder, creativity, love, appreciation of beauty, exploration, learning, generosity, meaningful work, and connection with others. This form of desire does not arise from deficiency. It arises from engagement with reality. It is not asking, what am I missing, but rather, what is here and how do I participate in it more fully? In this sense, desire is not consumption. It is participation. It naturally moves toward creation, contribution, and relationship. Desire evolves through experience and time. Desire is not fixed. It develops as a person develops. It moves through recognizable phases: inspiration, curiosity, ambition, attachment, disappointment, loss or limitation, reflection, surrender, integration, and responsibility. This development is not a failure of desire. It is how desire becomes mature. Disappointment, limitation, and endings are not interruptions of desire's growth. They are essential parts of it. Desire becomes wiser, not by avoiding reality, but by being shaped by it. Time is one of desire's greatest teachers. Healthy desire learns that reality unfolds in seasons, not instant fulfillment. And for those of you who may have watched my more previous content that I created, been talking about how we need to refine discernment. And they want me to be clear and say this is the same thing with desire, right? We need to refine it. They need to mature as we go through different experiences to allow that to shape us, to affect us, to learn from it appropriately, and to, again, refine it for the next experience. They're really saying all these aspects, it's all part of a larger growth cycle. You know, I just keep hearing, what did you learn? What are you going to do differently next time? Again, it's really participation is really going to be the path to growth. I don't know who needs to hear this, because I've been talking a lot about how we need to embody things. If you're not embodying it, if you're not changing, if you're not doing things differently, it doesn't count. And they're just saying that is the path to growth moving forward. I don't know who needs to hear that, but more insight without action is not going to yield the results you want. And they're saying insight is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. And I'll actually talk about knowledge a little bit later in this, but again, they're just saying knowledge without application doesn't move you anywhere. It just keeps you where you are. You're just more knowledgeable. You haven't actually used it. There's a difference. Knowledge plus action equals wisdom. They're saying having knowledge doesn't make you wise, just makes you informed. I don't know why that's coming through. That's got to be significant for someone. All right. Desire is a mirror of the inner life. Every desire reveals something about the person who has it. Desire is not only about external goals, it is a reflection of internal structure. Different forms of desire point to different inner conditions. Compulsive desire reveals unresolved pain. Possessive desire reveals fear. Controlling desire reveals insecurity. Escapist desire reveals unprocessed suffering. Obsessive desire reveals anxiety. And confused desire reveals disconnection from truth. Read it again. Compulsive desire reveals unresolved pain. Possessive desire reveals fear. Controlling desire reveals insecurity. Escapist desire reveals unprocessed suffering. Obsessive desire reveals anxiety, and confused desire reveals disconnection from truth. Instead of asking, how do I get rid of this desire? A deeper question is, what is this desire revealing about my inner world? Babies, just like relationships act as mirrors, your desire does too. It's meant to inform you about you. All right? Desire is not only something you experience, it is something that shows you yourself. And I'm hearing, what are you seeing? Okay? Desire is tied to identity. Desire changes when identity changes. Different inner identities produce different outer desires. The wounded self seeks rescue. The insecure self seeks certainty. The egoic self seeks control. The creative self seeks expression. The relational self seeks connection. And the mature self seeks responsibility and stewardship. This means desire cannot be fully transformed without identity transformation. Often, changing what you want is the result of becoming someone new, not the cause of it. I'm hearing some of you know you don't have the healthiest relationship with desire. I'm getting this feeling of the things you desire have not led you to the experiences you actually want. And they want you to understand that you do have to let go of the version of you that has those desires, right? If desire has to mature, so do you. So does your identity, right? You can't just change one thing and have it not impact the rest. You know? Think of yourself like a tree, right? We have branches. There's all different aspects to ourselves, right? If you prune one area, it still impacts the whole tree, right? And they're saying it's the same thing. So they want me to say this again. Often, Changing what you want is the result of becoming someone new, not the cause of it. Some of you need to allow an old version of you to go in order for you to move in the direction that you actually want. Some of you, because I made that statement, you're going to self-reflect and actually see how you've grown, how the things you wanted before are not the things you want anymore. Some of you are recognizing that. I'm just hearing what you thought you wanted. I'm not going to lie. This feels like someone who, I'm going to keep this broad because that can go in just too many directions. But it feels like you got something you wanted. You got something you wanted and you really thought it's what you wanted, but some time has passed and you're recognizing this isn't actually what you want. This isn't what you want. And they want me to point out to you that is a sign of you growing. And they're saying it's okay that you've grown. It's okay to change your mind. Because again, in a lot of ways, we are growing and we are evolving. Change naturally happens throughout that process. So if you recognize that you are growing, they do want me to challenge you to really think about what the new version of you wants. I don't know what this is specifically about, so take it and apply it how it resonates if you want. I'm hearing even if you're not sure what the next version of you looks like, for some of you, they still want you to reflect and think about what isn't working in this experience. Because they're saying it goes hand in hand. Again, if you don't know the version of you want to move into, look at your desires, look at the experience with what you've got now, and start thinking about what you would do differently. What did you learn? What would you do differently? Okay? There's something in there for someone. Okay? The different forms of desire. Desire expresses itself in different forms depending on its source. 1. Creative desire. This is desire aligned with life. It creates, builds, explores, and contributes. It expands reality rather than trying to consume it. It naturally leads to art, innovation, learning, meaningful relationships, service, and discovery. Creative desire leaves the world richer than it found it. Possessive desire. This desire seeks ownership instead of relationship. It tries to control people, knowledge, outcomes, beauty, and certainty. It turns living reality into something to be captured or controlled. It replaces mystery with domination and relationship with control. Compensatory desire. This desire grows from inner emptiness. It is based on the belief, if I get enough of something external, I will finally feel whole internally. It can attach to success, relationships, recognition, possessions, achievement, or status. The external goal is not the real goal. I'm hearing, do not lie to yourself. You will only cheat yourself if you do. The external goal is not the real goal. The real goal is relief from internal lack. This is why it never fully satisfies. They're showing me the scene from Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, or Caribbean. They're showing me the first one. I think that's Curse of the Black Pearl. And it's this scene with Jeffrey Rush and Keira Knightley. They're in the cave and they're trying to put all the treasure back. And he's explaining the curse to her. And he talks about how, it was like no food could quench our hunger. No drink could quench our thirst. No touch of a woman could ever satisfy us. That type of stuff. They're saying it's like that. No matter how much you get, it'll hit. I'm hearing it'll hit in the morning. And that's interesting. That's not what I meant to say. Damn. I meant to say it will hit in the moment, but it's going to leave you wanting more shortly after that. Again, they're just saying it never fully satisfies. And they're saying you'll know if that applies to you or not. And they want to be clear, this is not about judgment. This is not about shame. This is not about blame. This is about awareness. Because again, if we're not aware of these things, they can run us without us even recognizing it. Once we are aware of it, it introduces choice. What choice are you going to make? You can continue with what you're already doing, or you can decide to try something different. Okay? Devotional desire. This is mature desire. It values relationship over possession. It loves without consuming. It serves without controlling. It appreciates without trying to own. It shifts from what can I get to how can I honor what is here. Again, participation, not consumption. Every distorted desire has a hidden healthy need. Unhealthy desires are not meaningless. And I want to be clear, we all have unhealthy desires. We all do. All right? And I am no exception. I don't know who needs to hear that. But when I got the download that I was working on cleaning up my desire, I was like, what the fuck is that? So I had to educate myself on that. And as I started learning more, I was like, ooh, yeah, like, none of that. So really, we are in a lot of ways all walking each other home. All right? So again, unhealthy desires are not meaningless. They usually contain a legitimate human need beneath them. Control may hide a need for safety. Admiration may hide a need to be seen. Wealth may hide a need for freedom. Perfectionism may hide a need for worthiness, and romantic obsession may hide a need for connection. The surface expression is distorted, but the underlying need is often real. All right? And babies, they just want me to note these are normal human needs. There's nothing wrong with these needs. It's just the surface expression, right? I don't know anyone who wants to go through their experience not feeling safe, right? Most of us want connection, okay? All these kinds of things. They're saying there's nothing wrong with this. It's just we need to clean up that surface level expression. And again, we'll focus on how to do that as we keep going through this. Transformation happens not by suppressing desire, but by identifying and meeting the deeper need in a healthier way. Babies, I don't know who needs to hear this, but suppressing aspects of yourself often causes them to come out stronger in your external experience. And this is not to make anyone have fear, but there is strong caution against suppressing desire. They're saying that is really coming up in order for you to examine it. Go deeper. What is that revealing to you? I'm hearing what is missing, what is not being met. What is driving the compulsion? They want you to understand you have a lot more, I'm hearing authority and autonomy over this than you might initially think. All right, again, this is going to be about awareness and giving you the option to make different choices. They also want me to be clear. If you don't want to look deeper, you may see some improvement, but I'm hearing it probably won't be as much as you're hoping. Again, you can take this to the depth you're willing to take it at this time. All right, I'm just here to put out this information. I'm here to lay this framework. How far you want to go with it and to what extent is up to you. But again, awareness, choice, action. That is how you get to the growth. That is how you can get different outcomes. Okay? Desire becomes distorted through a few core mechanisms. Across all forms of unhealthy desire, several patterns repeat. 1. Forgetting enoughness. Many distortions begin with the belief, I am not enough. This moment is not enough. Life is not enough. This belief generates comparison, envy, greed, perfectionism, addiction, status seeking, and approval seeking. I'm hearing some of you thought of someone who tries to keep up with the Joneses type of stuff. I'm also hearing the world is not enough. And they're saying if you did think of that example that is being brought to your attention as well. I don't know who needs to hear this, but sometimes people are going to come into your experience to mirror to you what you don't want. You know, they almost serve as a reminder of like, this is not what you want to do. You know, so like somebody who is like never fully satisfied always has to have the next thing, the next thing. They came out with a new version. I'm getting that, you know, upgrades, upgrades, upgrades. And some of you are like, what is this? Like, how do you afford all of this? Again, they're saying it's not about judging this person. This person is demonstrating to you what it looks like in this experience to forget enoughness. I'm also hearing some of you are becoming very frustrated because you're watching people make, basically, you're really watching them loop, but to put it in more plain language, you're watching them basically make like this, I don't want to say it's a mistake, but that seems to be the right word. So I don't love it, but like you just kind of see them make the same mistake, maybe the same decision over and over and over again, just with different people. And I'm just literally hearing like, WTF? Like, what are you doing? And again, they're just showing you like what you don't want to do, right? Like that person's actually mirroring to you the fact that you want to grow, right? You don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. All right? Some people really are here to mirror what you don't want, and that's okay. I'm hearing some of you are trying to make things work with someone who keeps doing the same shit over and over and over again. And they're saying with that, like, do you actually want, like, I'm hearing, do you want to build with this person? Right? Do you want to keep investing in this person? Right? Because some of you really want to grow, and some of you are recognizing that you have some people around you who are just not going to grow. And you're watching them do that, and they're just saying that is information for you to keep in mind, you know? Is that, you know, because again, it's not saying they're bad people, it's just they really want you to understand, can you achieve the growth that you really want with that person around? You know, for some of you, yeah, they might be really supportive, and that's fine. That's a trade-off you can make. But for some of you, you're just going to recognize, like, we just keep doing the same shit over and over and over and over again. Like, you don't want to do anything differently. You don't want to try anything new. You know, I give you advice, you don't take it. And we just talk about the same shit on a different day. All right? Again, I don't know who that's for, but that's coming through. All right. 2, seeking control instead of relationship. Desire becomes unhealthy whenever it seeks ownership rather than connection. This includes wanting to possess people, certainty, knowledge, success, or even spiritual experiences. The problem is not wanting. The problem is reducing living relationships into objects that can be controlled. All right? objectification. Desire becomes unhealthy when it tries to dominate reality instead of relating to it. Control replaces trust. Possession replaces connection. All right. 3, escaping inner pain. When internal pain is not faced, desire becomes a form of escape. Escape can present through distraction, ideology, fantasy, compulsive stimulation, constant productivity, emotional numbing, and obsessive thinking. These distractions temporarily quiet the emptiness, but never resolve it. Babies, I'm going to be honest. Again, anytime you try to bypass certain things, in my experience, and this may not be everyone's experience, but in my experience, it comes back at you harder and faster in a way that makes it even more challenging to ignore than the previous time. And they want me to be clear, some people will spend their whole experience trying to escape inner pain. And they want you to understand that this is an invitation to just turn around and face it, see what happens. All right. All right. 4, avoiding endings. Sometimes excitement masks uncertainty. People often chase stimulation because they are avoiding difficult endings. Instead of accepting that something has completed its purpose, they distract themselves with new desires. Babies, oh, I was hoping to get out of this type of energy, but babies, if you are in a relationship and you have legitimate thoughts or dare I say desire to be with someone else, they're just saying, that happening a couple of times, not a big deal. But again, this almost feels like fantasizing. If you are fantasizing about being with someone else who is not your partner, they're just saying, take a look at that. Really take a look at that relationship. All right? Because they're saying clear as day, that is absolutely a distraction with new desires. They're saying when you notice you are distracting yourself, that it actually needs to be your indicator that you need to stop and look at whatever you are escaping from. I don't care if it's a feeling, I don't care if you know what it is. You need to turn and look at that. What are you trying to run away from? Okay? Many forms of desire persist because endings are not accepted. Refusing completion creates confusion, repetition, stagnation, and endless pursuit. I'm hearing some of you know what needs to end in your life. Most people have an idea. If you don't know exactly what, most people know in a certain area of their life what needs endings. And again, this could be a lot of things. This could be people, places, things, habits, right? They're saying, for example, if you're trying to lose weight, but you're not changing your diet, they're just like, how does that work, right? There are multiple factors that come into place, but if you're not willing to end poor eating habits, or you're not willing to get more active to the extent that you reasonably and sustainably can, how do you expect that to shift, right? A lot of times when you want change, certain things have to end to make room for new things to begin to form. It's the same thing with people, places, and things. And I want to be very, very clear when I say I overstand what this means. I have had to walk away from people, places, and things on my journey that I actually never thought I would. And it just got to a point where I realized that I couldn't grow, that I couldn't get back to my authentic version of me staying around those people, places, and things. And I did not enjoy that. I did not like that. But it got to a point where I realized that I was really holding myself in place. And that I couldn't keep doing that. So they want you to really look at that, because I'm going to be honest, some of you are having a hard time right now because you are, and these are not my words, this is what I'm channeling, because you are holding on to people, places, and things that don't belong in this new chapter. They are meant, I'm just hearing you're meant to part ways. And because you are trying to hold on to these things and make this fit where it does not belong, is creating that pain. And it is also blocking the things that are trying to come in for you because there is no room for them. And I'm hearing you cannot have both. Desire transforms when identity transforms. All right, that's for someone. External pressure. Number 5, external pressure replacing inner truth. Even after creating a stable, meaningful life, people can begin living according to external pressures. Desire becomes distorted when it is no longer self-generated, but driven by social approval, fear, obligation, habit, status, expectation, and past wounds. These become invisible forces directing desire. The question is no longer simply, what do I want? But who or what is actually moving me? For some of you, you're going to make your changes the fastest if you actually focus here. Who or what is actually moving me? For some of you, you need to actually ask who or what is keeping me here. I don't know who that's for, but that's for someone. Because for some of you, foot, why a foot? If this is for you, you're going to feel it in your foot. I don't know why we're going to the foot, but you're going to feel it in your foot. Some of you are staying in things you are supposed to, I'm literally hearing graduate from, due to external expectations. It's not actually you. You are actually keeping yourself there, but this is not your energy. I'm telling you. Yeah, this is external pressure. Babies, I don't know why, but I'm hearing who's actually living your life. Are you living your life for you? Are you living your life for other people? Who is running the ship? I don't know who that's for. Who is running the ship? All right. Desire and the role of emptiness. Inner emptiness is not a failure state. And I'm hearing there are some of you watching this who really will identify with this inner emptiness. And as someone who has been there, I can understand just how uncomfortable that actually is. So hang in there, all right? It can feel like a failure state. It is not. All right? So inner emptiness is not a failure state. It is a revealing state. When faced, emptiness exposes false identities, false motivations, false securities, and false sources of meaning. When continuously avoided, it drives compulsive desire. When faced directly, it becomes a threshold for transformation. Babies, that inner emptiness is actually where the magic happens, right? That's where think of it like an onion, right? That's where all the layers of things that don't actually belong to you, are not yours, are inauthentic, any of that stuff. That's where that stuff really starts to, again, if examined, starts to come off. I'll stand by that statement. That spot, that state is really where the magic happens. Right? That's where the growth is. That's where the rebirth is, if you identify with that. All right? I'm hearing it can feel scary to be there, but it does serve a purpose. And so there is compassion if you feel like that's where you are. And your guidance is to use that state wisely. Do your reflection. Allow things to come up. Take a look at it. Have the honest reflections with yourself. And again, allow that stuff to just fall away. Okay? Desire and beauty. Beauty is much more than something attractive. Beauty teaches desire how to love correctly. Beauty reminds us to receive rather than possess, to admire rather than consume, to appreciate rather than control. Beauty becomes a compass. Whenever desire becomes possessive, beauty redirects it toward gratitude. Whenever desire becomes controlling, beauty teaches receptivity. Beauty allows people to experience value without ownership. Beauty interrupts possessive desire and restores receptivity. It reminds desire how to simply receive what is already present, to relate rather than to take. This is one of the ways desire heals itself. Desire and knowledge. Curiosity is healthy. Let me back up. I'm hearing some of you did not understand that. And they're actually, your guidance is, don't worry about that. Just take that in and let it sit. It's funny because that's going to tie into this next section I'm about to go into, but they're saying, don't overthink that. Just take that in, let it sit. That's all you need to do with it. You don't need to understand that. Desire and knowledge. Curiosity is healthy. The demand for complete certainty is not. Knowledge becomes unhealthy when it is used to eliminate mystery instead of deepen relationship. People often believe if I knew enough, I would finally feel secure. But absolute certainty is impossible. Eventually, the pursuit of certainty becomes another attempt to control reality. Again, this is tying back to it's not just about knowledge, it's not just about insight. You must apply it. Take action. All right? Pursuit of certainty becomes another attempt to control reality. The healthier question becomes, can I remain open to truth without needing to possess it? Knowledge should increase humility, not superiority. Wisdom accepts mystery. Control fears it. Desire, time, and maturity. Healthy desire understands time. It recognizes growth is gradual. Relationships take time. Healing cannot be rushed. It cannot. I assure you, if my impatient ass could find a way to do this faster, not only would I fucking do it, I would spill all the tea. That would be all I do for content. Here's how to get through 2 years worth of slogging through shit in 2 months, all right? I would be a rich bitch. I'm sure of it if I could do that. I don't know who needs to hear that, but healing cannot be rushed. Learning unfolds in stages, and endings must be honored. And they're saying that last one is crucial. They're saying what you will not end is telling the universe, this is what I am willing to accept. Okay? They're reminding me I had a video that I did a while ago where I actually said sometimes you have to tell the universe, no, this is not what I want. This is not what I deserve. This is not as good as it gets. And to let things go with love and show the universe that not only did you set the intention, that you took the action. Because they're just saying setting intentions at this point is a good start, but if you are not willing to take the steps in the direction that you want to move, I'm hearing the support will have a harder time finding you. And for some of you, your team is, your guides, your ancestors are waiting on your call. I'm hearing you jump, I jump. I forget what that's from. But I think that's Titanic, isn't it? It's Titanic. I think that is. All right. Unhealthy desire demands immediate resolution by forcing premature outcomes. Mature desire aligns with reality's timing instead of resisting it. Desire, work, and stewardship. A major transformation in desire is the shift from wanting to doing. Healthy desire becomes expressed through craftsmanship, responsibility, contribution, care, stewardship, and sustained effort. Desire matures from emotional impulse into consistent practice. It becomes something you live through repeated action and embodiment, not isolated feeling. In my last video, we were talking about intimacy, which in a lot of ways is tied to love, but the question kept coming up, actually in the love series too, I'm pretty sure, was what are you building? What are you working toward? Are you becoming the type of person who can actually not only create that, build it, and sustain it? And they're saying that's what this is, right? If you want long-lasting relationships that are built on reciprocity and growth, are you actually doing what needs to be done, not just within yourself, but in that relationship with the other individual? And I'm hearing, and are they meeting you there? And what's interesting is they're saying multiple hands makes light work, which is funny because, again, they're going back to it's a very fancy way of them saying going back to reciprocity, right? If you have, babies, I'm just going to say it the way it's coming through. If you have alignment between people, right? You have alignment on desire, you have alignment on goals, you have alignment on values. You have two people equally working on creating, building, and sustaining something. And they're saying that makes light work. Some of you are wondering why relationships are so hard. And again, this can be just relationships in general, right? It could be work, friends, family, partners, however you want to frame it. But they're just saying if something is really difficult, you need to look at the exchanges. Right? Is there actually reciprocity? Because multiple hands should make light work. If that's not the case, that is an indication of imbalance, and that is meant for you to look at. Okay? From consumption to participation, one of the deepest structural shifts in desire is this. Immature desire asks, what can I get? Mature desire asks, what can I contribute? What am I participating in? What am I becoming through this? Life is not something to consume. It is something to participate in. The shift from transaction to participation changes everything. Love is no longer exchange. Learning is no longer accumulation. Work is no longer merely income. Spirituality is no longer achievement. Each becomes a way of entering more fully into life. Babies, this is why it keeps coming up, which tells me we're probably just getting closer. But I've been talking about how there's going to be realignments that happen. And it just feels like we're gonna, if you haven't made decisions yet, certain events may take place that's going to make you really look at certain things. The people who want to consume are gonna be in their own circle. The ones who want to participate and are capable of participating are going to be realigned. Their paths are going to start crossing. Why? Because they are capable of it. And some people have certain strengths that other people need. And those people have strengths that other person needs. That reciprocity is going to start being what aligns people. These may not all be long-term things, but that's why that realignment needs to happen. And there is going to be a group in the middle who's in between those two. They're going to have to make decisions on, are they going to stay in situations where it's consumption, or are they going to do what it needs to take to get into participation? That is coming through. Again, I'm hearing the takers. Again, if you choose to stay in imbalance, I'm hearing that can be honored. But the takers are meant to deal with the other takers, because the takers have been paired with the overgivers, and the overgivers are intended to balance that out and deal with other people who can meet them in reciprocity. And they're saying, don't feel bad for the takers. They need to experience dealing with other takers for their own growth, because it feels like they just keep finding these overgivers. They have not actually experienced what it's like to actually interact with people who are also takers. And they will have the option to choose, are they going to mature and move toward participation, or are they just going to stay in that experience? That is coming through. I don't know when, but that's getting closer. Force versus power. Another key distinction. Force tries to make reality comply. Power develops the capacity to respond to reality wisely. Force is rooted in control. Power is rooted in trust and capability. Mature desire develops power, not force. All right? Some of you really need to start co-creating with the universe. You'll know if that's for you or not. I'm hearing you've watched my videos before where I talked about how to do that. Power develops the capacity to respond to reality wisely. What experience are you co-creating? What are you calling in? What are you willing to align your actions to? For some of you, that is your big hang up. You're like, I'm setting my intentions, I'm setting my intentions, I'm setting my intentions. Babies, what are you doing about it? I don't know who that is for. Foot. You felt that in your foot. Why are we on the feet? Who, babies, who is ignoring my other signals? They said we had to go to the foot because some of you have been feeling it in your chest, in your heart space, in your stomach, and you've been writing that off on normal body shit. That's why we're in the foot. Why? Because it's so fucking far from everything else. They're like, ignore this. Good luck. Someone's guides and ancestors they sick of yo shit. Just and they say they mean it with love, but they're like, fine, you want to pull this shit? We're going to the foot. Good luck. All right. Responsibility is freedom. This is somewhat counterintuitive, but many people think freedom means having unlimited choices. This message points elsewhere. The freest person is the one whose desires are no longer controlled by fear, approval, compulsion, or old wounds. Such a person can freely choose responsibility. Instead of asking, what do I want? It becomes, what have I been entrusted to care for? Healthy desire eventually expresses itself through responsibility. This does not mean suppressing desire. It means giving desire meaningful work to do. Again, I'm hearing, what are you building? All right? Rather than endlessly consuming experiences, mature desire builds, it protects, creates, nurtures, and serves. Authority becomes stewardship rather than domination. Power becomes responsibility rather than entitlement. Responsibility becomes an expression of freedom rather than a limitation of it. It is the highest expression of integrated desire. Again, babies, they're saying, I'm not going to lie, they're saying if that made sense to you, it was meant to make sense. You were ready to receive that. They're saying if that does not make sense to you, they're just saying you need to give it more time. They're just saying there's more maturation that needs to take place for that. And they said if you're in between, give it more time. I'm actually hearing you're almost there. All right. Habit, character, and identity formation. Desire is not only momentary, it becomes habitual. Repeated desires become repeated actions. Repeated actions become identity. This means desire is always shaping character in the background. What you consistently want becomes what you consistently become. Every desire has a direction. Desire is never neutral. It always moves. The question is where. Some desires move inward, toward fear, self-protection, and isolation. Others move outward, toward generosity, creativity, truth, participation, community, and contribution. This message encourages evaluating desire by its direction more than by its intensity. Strong desire is not automatically good. Weak desire is not automatically bad. What matters is where it leads. Desire is meant to become increasingly simple. Immature desire multiplies. It constantly seeks more. More experiences, recognition, certainty, possessions, and more achievements. Mature desire simplifies. Eventually, it wants fewer things, but it wants them more deeply. Truth, love, wisdom, meaningful work, faithfulness, beauty, community, and service. The simplicity is not reduction. It is refinement. As desire matures, it becomes less scattered and more wholehearted. This message quietly redefines success. Success is not presented as getting everything you want, nor as eliminating desire. You cannot actually eliminate desire. You can suppress it, which we've already established is not a good idea. Success becomes being able to want the right things for the right reason. That is a profound shift. Some may achieve enormous external success while remaining internally ruled by fear. Another person may possess relatively little while having desires that are deeply integrated with truth and love. And they want to be clear, you can have both, depending on how you want to look at it. All right. Again, meaning you can have external success while having desires that are deeply integrated with truth and love. But they're saying it starts with you. All right. This message measures maturity by the quality of desire, not by the quantity of possessions or achievement. Again, maturity is measured by the quality of desire. Do you want the right things for the right reasons? The ultimate distinction, conscious versus unconscious desire. The deepest divide is not between good and bad desire. It's between unconscious and conscious desire. Unconscious desire is automatic, reactive, fear-driven, compulsive and identity bound. Conscious desire is reflective, aware of itself, aligned with values, capable of questioning itself, and open to growth. Unconscious desire controls you. Conscious desire teaches you. That is going to be primarily what we focus on in this series. Unconscious versus conscious desire. Bringing the unconscious into the conscious mind so you can introduce choice. And I'm saying that now. I have no idea what's coming in the part 2 message. I haven't even gotten that far. But that is what's coming through. I've said before, if you do not work through these things, that shit runs you. That's why we have to pull it from the unconscious into the conscious, so you can at least take a look at it and make your decisions. The goal is integration, not perfection. This message does not indicate reaching a point where unhealthy desires disappear forever. Instead, it suggests becoming someone who recognizes them more quickly. Questions become habits. Why do I want this? What need is underneath this? Is this creating relationship or control? Is this coming from fear or love? Am I trying to escape something? Am I trying to become someone? Growth is measured less by having perfect desires and more by relating to desire honestly. The final integration. Desire is not a problem to solve. It is a lifelong teacher. It reveals what you value, what you fear, what you lack, what you love, what you believe, and what you are becoming. When unconscious, desire pulls you into repetition, control, and escape. When conscious, desire becomes a compass for growth, creativity, and meaning. The goal is not to eliminate desire. The goal is to refine it until it no longer arises from fear and lack, but from clarity, wholeness, and participation in life. At its most mature level, desire stops trying to fill an inner emptiness and instead becomes an expression of inner fullness. It no longer asks life to complete you. It begins to express the life that is already here. All right, that's what I have, babies. Anything else? Okay, they said end it there, so I'm going to honor that. So that is part 1. I will be back later this week with parts 2 and 3. Feel free to tune in if this resonates with you. If it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. I will leave the content in place if you ever change your mind. So without further ado, take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. And until next time, bye.